Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, distinguished participants, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I would first like to start by thanking my dear sister, Dr. Vera Sonway, Executive Director of UNECA, and her team for calling and for organizing this Africa Business Forum on an important theme, which is transport, but with particular focus on aviation and tourism and their implication and connection linkages with the African Free Trade Area. Excellencies, distinguished participants, as we all know, efficient and affordable transport and connectivity are key to the effective operation and success of the African Free Trade Area. However, Africa still lacks in the area of trade competitiveness. Transport costs in Africa are among the highest in the world and harm our continent's productivity and competitiveness on local and international trade markets. High transport costs in Africa are partly due to insufficient, affordable, and reliable transport and logistics services. On average, transport costs in Africa are 63% higher than in developed countries. Transport costs represents between 30% and 50% of the continent's total value of exports compared to an average of about 17% of the value of exports in other developing countries. For our landlocked countries, transport costs are significantly higher and may constitute about 3/4 of the total value of exports. These costs, as you know, have increased even since the advent of COVID due to the cost for tests and the different health requirements, which is making transport and travel across the continent even more costly and more difficult, not to mention the complication of unharmonized health protocols across our continent. I also would like to congratulate UNECA and my sister, Dr. Vera Sonway, for the excellent report which she highlighted in her intervention. I'm not going to go through the different elements she highlighted, but let me focus on aviation in Africa. Aviation, as you know, is a driver for socio-economic development in our continent. It already supports over $60 billion in other sectors and about 7 million jobs on this continent. African aviation, like in other regions, is important and crucial in the fight against the pandemic, and we've all seen how our carriers have been distributing, emergency and humanitarian supplies, including the vaccines. And having viable and efficient aviation sector is even more important than it has ever been. To promote Africa's physical integration and allow the effective operation of the AFCFTA, we at the AUC have been mobilizing efforts and attention to expedite the development and implementation of efficient and reliable regional and transcontinental transport infrastructure in Africa, mainly through our program for infrastructure development, abbreviated as PIDA. And we have been doing this together with AUD-NEPAD and the African Development Bank, and I'm sure by the end of this month, on 28th of February in Nairobi, you will all join us to hear more about the PIDA program, the kind of progress that we have made, and also to help us mobilize resources and efforts and catalyze and synergize around this continental program for infrastructure. But of particular importance, like my sister Vera said, is the flagship project of the African Union, which is the Single African Air Transport Market, which was launched in 2018. Its main objective is to create one single air transport market in Africa to liberalize our air transport services and drive economic integration. The SATM, as it's abbreviated, strongly supports the continental free trade area and free movement of persons by by creating more air connections for people, for goods, for services across the continent, reducing the risk and cost associated with intra-regional trade, while opening more trade lanes and opportunities to conduct businesses across the continent. Air transportation is also essential for facilitating free movement, as it can provide better connectivity than other modes of transport, particularly for intra-regional and longer lanes of travel. I'm proud to report that currently 35 African states with a total population of more than 800 million people, accounting for 61% of the population of our African continent and 90% of intra-African air transport market, have joined the single African air transport market and have opened up their markets to each other. The successful implementation of this single African air transport market within those 35 member states or African countries will surely encourage the remaining 20 African countries to also join. A recent continental study on the benefits of SATAM, commissioned by AUC and implemented by or undertaken by IATA, has shown that with air transport liberalization, it is forecast that an additional 145 country pairs will receive direct services. The study further found that across the 55 African Union countries, air transport liberalization is projected to result in an additional 600,000 jobs and $4 billion US dollars additional GDP per annum, additional 4 million tourist visits across Africa, an incremental 300,000 jobs in tourism and related industries, and $1.5 billion are expected to be generated in that sector. All of this contribute to increasing direct and indirect jobs, as I said, to the African women and youth particularly. Excellencies, distinguished participants, the importance of tourism industry cannot be underscored. And one of the things I think that was revealed by the COVID pandemic is the importance of tourism and its share in our economies in Africa. It contributes significantly to the socio-economic development of almost all African states. Apart from its overall contribution of over 10% to GDP in our economies, it is a massive creator of jobs and generator of income, especially for women and men and small, micro, medium enterprises. From the taxi driver who takes, the tourist to the airport, to again the taxi driver who drives this tourist back to the airport. It is an incredible employer, and it's also it helps, with the conservation of wildlife, of our tangible and non-tangible heritage, of creating these human ties and promoting our countries. The benefits of tourism, as I said, cannot be, and its share, it cannot be underscored. Over the past years, the African Union Commission, back then I was still also the Commissioner for Tourism, we developed the African Tourism Strategic Framework, and which together with our partners in the tourism sector, we managed to develop strategies and actions to particularly promote cross-border marketing of tourism packages and the creation of a strong brand Africa of tourism products and services that would sell the continent's tourism industry as a unique package with special value to the world. Excellencies, distinguished participants, the pandemic has seriously affected both our air transport and tourism industries, very hardly hit. You are all aware that massive losses in revenues were incurred to the entire African aviation value chain, airlines, airports. Same thing could be said about tourism. The pandemic also revealed serious fragility and vulnerabilities and inefficiencies. we need to review those sectors. We need to be more agile, to adapt, to rethink the business models, put in place cost management, and develop new business models, making use of the fantastic opportunity of digitalization, among others, to improve tourist and travel experiences while building efficiencies, innovations, and also safety and security, especially in the health, related to health. The pandemic also highlighted the importance of diversification and promotion of our regional and continental supply chains, intra-African trade and intra-African tourism, and the need to urgently to harmonize the health protocols, as I said. Excellencies, I am sure that this 5th Business Forum will provide this opportunity to all our partners, the private sector, the public sector, to exchange and on the opportunities, on the challenges, on the potential for investment, and to lay a strong foundation, to help us lay strong foundations for the air industry, for the tourism, for recovery, and for a new business model in those industries. I look very much forward to the deliberations, and I once again thank you, NECA, for organizing this high-level forum, and wish you all a fruitful event. Thank you.